The Vrek's containment chamber hummed with lethal intent as Nyla pressed her palm against the transparent barrier. Beyond the force field, Commander Brian stood with 17 other human prisoners, their hands bound with molecular restraints that glowed an eerie purple. "Atmospheric conversion in 60 seconds, the Vrek's warden announced through the translation matrix embedded in the chamber walls. Its chitinous form reflected the sterile white lights of the detention center, mandibles clicking with what Nyla had learned to recognize as satisfaction. Brian met her eyes through the barrier, his expression calm despite the death sentence. They'd known the risks when they'd refused to surrender Earth's coordinates. The Vrek's Collective had given them one final chance: reveal the location of humanity's homeworld, or face termination by carbon dioxide exposure. The irony wasn't lost on Nyla. She'd tried to explain it to their captors, but the translation matrix had failed to convey the concept. Or perhaps the Vrek's simply couldn't comprehend it. 30 seconds, the warden chittered. Nyla's fingers tightened against the barrier. As the science officer of the exploration vessel Prometheus, she'd studied 17 different alien species across 8 star systems. The Vrek's were silicon-based life forms who'd evolved in an atmosphere of methane and ammonia. To them, carbon dioxide was a corrosive poison, a fact they'd discovered when analyzing human physiology aboard the captured ship. What the Vrek's hadn't understood, what their xenobiologists had completely missed, was the fundamental difference in respiratory chemistry. 10 seconds. "May your molecules disperse peacefully," the warden intoned. Gas hissed into the chamber through ceiling vents. Nyla watched as the transparent atmosphere inside began to shimmer with the heavier-than-air carbon dioxide. The concentration monitors on the wall climbed rapidly. 1%, 5%, 10%. Brian took a deliberate breath. Around him, the other prisoners did the same. The Vrek's guards shifted uneasily, their atmospheric sensors clicking as they monitored the lethal gas filling the chamber. 15%, 20%. The concentration was already triple what would be instantly fatal to any Vrek's. Brian smiled. "Impossible," the warden hissed, its translator crackling. "The contamination should be disintegrating your cellular structures." Nyla pressed the communication panel. "Commander Brian, status report?" "A bit stuffy in here," Brian replied, his voice steady through the intercom. "Could use some fresh air, but we're not dying if that's what you're asking." 25%, 30%. The warden's mandibles clattered in what Nyla recognized as panic. "Increase concentration to maximum. They must be using some kind of protection technology." "They're not," Nyla said calmly. "I tried to tell you. Humans don't just tolerate carbon dioxide, we produce it. Every breath we take converts oxygen into CO2. We've been exhaling what you consider a weapon since we were born." The chamber hit 40% concentration. Several VREX technicians backed away from the control panels, their bodies trembling. One of them accidentally vented a small amount of the gas into the observation room. Chaos erupted as alarms shrieked and Vrek scattered, their exoskeletons already showing stress fractures from even trace exposure. "Emergency decontamination!" someone screamed. Inside the chamber, Brian stood calmly, breathing normally. The other humans looked uncomfortable. The CO2 concentration was higher than healthy, and they'd need real oxygen soon, but they were very much alive. The warden's optical sensors focused on Nyla. "What? What are you?" "We tried to explain," Nyla said. "On Earth, our atmosphere is 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, and yes, a small percentage of carbon dioxide. Our planet is literally covered with organisms, plants we call them, that breathe in CO2 and breathe out oxygen. We animals reverse that process. It's a cycle. A partnership. You metabolize the corrosive agent?" The warden's voice held something between horror and awe. "We require oxygen to survive, yes, but carbon dioxide is just our waste product. Every human in that chamber has been producing the gas you're trying to kill them with their entire lives." Nyla gestured to Brian. Right now, in normal air, he's exhaling about 4% CO2 with every breath. A Vrex scientist stumbled forward, its translator struggling with rapid calculations. If they exhale poison, if their atmosphere contains this agent, then their world is absolutely lethal to you, Nyla confirmed. That's why we didn't want to tell you where Earth is. Not because we feared invasion, because we knew what would happen to any Vrex fleet that entered our atmosphere. You'd dissolve before you reached the surface. The warden's legs buckled. Around the observation room, Vrex officers were re-evaluating everything they'd assumed about the soft-skinned bipeds they'd captured. "Shut down the chamber," the warden finally ordered. "Get them oxygen, now." As fresh air hissed into the containment unit and the CO2 was vented, carefully into external tanks, Brian and the other prisoners relaxed. Nyla watched relief flood their faces as breathable atmosphere returned. The warden approached Nyla, moving carefully, as if she might exhale and kill it on the spot. "Your species, you're not just resistant to one of our most powerful weapons. You're living generators of it." "More than that," Nyla said quietly. "Think about what this means. Every human produces this gas. 7 billion of us on Earth. Our cities, our vehicles, our industries, they all produce even more CO2. Our entire civilization runs on processes that release what you consider a deadly toxin." The warden was silent for a long moment, its mandibles still. "We attacked a world weaponized by its very existence." "You tried to," Nyla corrected. "But now you understand why we kept Earth's location secret. Not to protect ourselves from you, to protect you from us, and from our world." Behind the barrier, Brian stretched as the molecular restraints were deactivated. He caught Nyla's eye and nodded once, a silent acknowledgement of what they'd both known would happen. The Vrex had thought they were executing prisoners. Instead, they'd discovered that humanity exhaled their nightmares with every breath, and somewhere in the vast distance of space, Earth continued its ancient cycle, breathing, living, and utterly uninvadable by silicon-based life. The warden turned to its officers. "Release all human prisoners, and update the collective database. Earth's coordinates are to remain classified, not as an enemy target." It paused, optical sensors fixed on the humans who'd survived their own execution. "But as a quarantine zone. A beautiful, deadly world that kills with kindness." End.